Well, it's my deepest apologies, but the leaf blowers have been really loud today, so I had to really put a delay on this video, but either way, we're talking today about the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the reason we're bringing up these two teams is because, firstly, one of them is not playing today, so it makes for a good conversational opportunity, but secondly, on Pittsburgh Hockey Now, we had ourselves an article published by Dan Kinierski talking about trade talk. The Penguins should be shopping, and the Leafs have an available D. My goodness, I just said that out loud without reading it first in my head. Cue the sound bites, I guess. So, this article brings up the idea of a potential Toronto Maple Leafs and Pittsburgh Penguins trade. A link will be in the description. Go ahead and read it just for the title itself. The first paragraph opens with the Pittsburgh Penguins and how they're set to being a little bit healthy in the next few days after everything that they've gone through with the virus gets handled with. The insidious injury bug is never far away from these Penguins, and the black cloud of bad luck hangs over them like a cloud of dust around Pigpen. Man, I like that. That's a great sentence. Given the internally available options, it appear as the NHL trade market represents the best chance for the Penguins to solidify themselves for whatever comes next. Is that appear as missing an S and a space? I'm not really too sure. But the article brings up how Marcus Pettersson and Chad Ruhwedel will be back soon, but Brian Dumoulin will still be out for a while. Because of this bad luck, the Penguins will need more depth defensemen over the next 72 games, and if they're fortunate enough, the club's 16th straight playoff appearance. Which is where you have yourselves the depth defenseman trade target that they have on the market so far. Let's talk about Justin Holl, 29 years old, of the Toronto Maple Leafs, making $2 million per season until the end of next season. Nick Capriosa Sportsnet reported the Toronto Maple Leafs put a defenseman on the NHL trade block who could be right up the Penguins' alley. Justin Holl is an affordable minutes eater with a right-handed shot. He will not light up the scoreboard, and he isn't really a hammer, but he is physical and he brings size. At 6'4", 210, Holl can clear a path near the net and block shots, which is what the Penguins lack even with a healthier roster. Now, why would they want to go out there and actually acquire this kind of player? Well, his contract is not terrible, especially for a guy who might just be a third-pairing defenseman. At least that's what the article says here. And he was in a pretty prominent role with the Maple Leafs before they tried to clear up space for Timothy Liljegren. He has been healthy scratched in the past few games in favor of Timothy Liljegren, and that kind of makes things a little bit easier for the Toronto Maple Leafs to go out there and maybe try to depart with this guy. Darren Dreger actually says that a team will have to overpay for Justin Holl. James Myrtle of The Athletic said a team told him the price was not too high, so the rumors as to what the price could be haven't really been all too consistent based off of the NHL insiders that have said their piece about it. But this is what the article on Pittsburgh Hockey Now proposes could be a potential move. An interesting trade chip that the Penguins could use that could interest Toronto as one of multiple assets headed that way, goaltender Louis Domingue. Penguins prospect goalie Philip Lindbergh was the AHL's goalie of the month in October, and Toronto is currently using Joseph Woll, who routinely ranks at the bottom of the AHL in save percentage, as their backup for the next 4 weeks, while Peter Mrazek deals with another injury. That should say another, yeah, sorry. But either way, yes, we're talking about Louis Domingue. Hextall signed Domingue as NHL depth, and he had a strong training camp in the preseason. Domingue was the Penguins' best player in a win over most of the Buffalo Sabres NHL roster. Toronto could use a goalie with NHL experience and a hunger to be there, unless they want to run Jack Campbell out there every game for the next month or more. And so, this is the proposed trade idea, some form of Justin Holl from Toronto to Pittsburgh in exchange for Louis Domingue and maybe some other stuff too. Now, before going over Justin Holl, because I know we have a lot of Leafs fans who are probably going to be tuning in looking to hear about their guy, let's talk about Louis Domingue here first. He's a 29-year-old, 6'3", 209-pound goaltender out of Quebec, and he is making a very considerable $750,000 for the next season. This year, he had himself 5 games played at the AHL level with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, a 2.43 goals against and a 9.21 save percentage. Certainly not a bad set of numbers over there. However, he has had NHL experience in the past. The previous few years saw him suit up with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New Jersey Devils, the Arizona Coyotes, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Calgary Flames. He has been all over the map. When the Vancouver Canucks actually acquired Louis Domingue from the Devils in the 2019-20 season before they went to the bubble, it was actually really made aware to me just how cool of a guy he is. He is a baker He has his own social media platform, and I believe he has a cookbook, too, of recipes that he has. He does, like, banana bread and a whole bunch of other cool... What else do you call those? Like, pastries? Yeah, pastries. That's what you call them. My goodness, I'm dumb. But he is a pretty interesting guy when it comes to off-ice personality, and, you know, the Toronto Maple Leafs are no stranger to having players on their team have good social media presences. But furthermore, Domingue is not a bad goaltender. Now, he does have NHL experience, yes, and his NHL experience the past few seasons has not been particularly great statistically, but at the end of the day, you could very well say that he is an upgrade over Wall, and that he could be not a big upgrade, but still somewhat of an upgrade on Hutchinson too. The Maple Leafs do have this desperate need for goaltending at the moment because of this Peter Mrazek injury. They definitely do not want to go out there and run Jack Campbell to the ground like they've been somewhat noted to do with guys in the past, cough cough, Freddie Anderson. But for the Maple Leafs, if you're giving up a guy like Justin Holl, on paper, if you told me Holl for Domingue, I'd say, okay, that's a really big win for Pittsburgh, because at the end of the day, even though Louis Domingue can play NHL minutes, he is still just an AHL goalie at the time. And Justin Holl, if you take a look at his profile right here, 29 years old, 6'4", 194, $2 million a year till 2023. He is a capable guy, and he had himself a really good showing earlier on in the season and for good parts of last season too. It's just he hasn't been played. And if you take a look at where the Maple Leafs are putting their money, hey, they're putting it with Timothy Liljegren right now. They trust this guy a little bit more than they do Justin Holl. And they've been trying out this Holl as being scratched experiment the past few games, and it has been working for them. Sure, they lost yesterday against LA, but they were on a 5-game win streak earlier, and they had themselves the Big Four all contributing and all scoring points. That's what you want out of Toronto, and the game that Timothy Liljegren brings allows that to happen. He's very safe, he's very calm, and he just does the right things. Not to say that Justin Holl does not do that, it's just, if you have to choose one or the other, they're going with Liljegren at the moment. So, even though on paper you could debate, very well debate actually, that Justin Holl is a more valuable piece than a Louis Domingue, the fact is you're not using him. And if you traded for Domingue, he would automatically be a very good contender for your backup position while Peter Mrazek is out. I get that it's very valuable to have extra depth defenders in your system just in case somebody on your blue line gets injured, but the blue line has been one of the best parts about the Maple Leafs the past few months, hasn't it? It's been one of the more consistent and one of the more stable parts of the entire team, because when it comes to the goaltending controversy with Mrazek getting all the injuries, and when it comes to forwards and their controversy with them not scoring any points, you didn't have any problems like that with the D-core. So, for Toronto, having themselves a guy like Justin Holl available in the market, as Kiprio said, makes a lot of sense to me, especially since you're not going to be using this guy for the foreseeable future, assuming nobody gets injured, right? So, talk to me in the comments, what do you think about this idea over here? Do you think the Maple Leafs would actually benefit from trading a guy like Justin Holl, whom they're not using, for a maybe suitable NHL backup option in Star Baker, former Flame, former Canuck, former Devil, former Coyote, former Lightning, Louis Domingue? Do you think that's a trade they should go out there and make? And if it's not, what assets do you think the Penguins should add to make it worthwhile for the Maple Leafs? Because it does say in the article that Domingue and something else probably should be more considered than just Domingue by himself, but let me know in the comments what do you think that something else should be. If you're a Penguins fan, would you trade away your AHL second goalie for a guy like Justin Holl, whom you could actually use and who could actually work with your team right now in the midst of this crisis on your blue line? I think I very well may know the answer to that question, but let me know in the comments what you think either way. If it is not the case, though, then how would you balance out the scales? Leafs fans, if you would be so kind as to let me know in the comments also, would you just make this trade? Like, if you're Dubas today, do you say, okay, Domingue and a second for Holl, we'll do it. There you go. If you're a Penguins fan, same thing goes over to you. Links are going to be in the description. I hope you enjoyed this. Was Josh Rolls 99. And bye.